Hello, 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 and welcome to Those Guys Sports. This is my weekly NBA podcast, which, as you can see from the picture behind me, there's a guy who just got a contract extension for 3 years, $170 million in Anthony Davis. That's why he's giving, the thumbs up because he's happy. The man is happy. The man is about to get his bread. He got the extension from the Lakers. Doesn't mean he's going to be a Laker for life. No, it doesn't really mean that. It actually means like none of that means anything. I think the new way the league is going and the way player movement has been going, I think a lot of guys are just getting their money and then eventually asking to get traded. I think this could be happening here too. I think Anthony Davis one day wants to play for his home state in Illinois, meaning he wants to play for the Bulls one day. That's what everyone kind of thinks and believes that one day Anthony Davis will ask for a trade to go there. I don't know, it could happen. We'll talk about the benefits and the goods, but before that, make sure you guys make sure you subscribe. I see the videos are growing. People are watching, especially the Raptor content. Raptor fans, I'm gonna talk Raptors all week. I love Raptors because I have to talk, but I gotta talk some NBA too. And I'm doing this, you know, I should just talk about it right now. I'm doing the hoops grid, which I think every NBA fan has been doing this hoops grid, and I just did one recently. I decided to go back in the day. I think this one was July 20th. It was basically the Raptors, Spurs, and 1,500 steals one way, and then that was across. Then down was OKC, the Knicks, and Atlanta Hawks. So I'm trying to match it. I did pretty good. You won't be. You won't be able to see it. I did pretty good. I did well. I matched. I did 29.67 in the rarity score, which is said 99% of those grids. 99% of those grids didn't touch my grid. So I'm thankful. And one of the reasons why that happens is because a lot of you NBA fans, a lot of the younger fans, you guys heard about Tracy McGrady. You heard about how good he was. You heard that Tracy McGrady, if you have to imagine him now, is kind of like a Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant probably is better defensively, but the way Tracy McGrady is kind of like the way Kevin Durant is right now. So that's what, a lot of people forget that he played for the San Antonio Spurs. He played, I think, I think it was like '06 after the Spurs won in '05. Either that or he played in '08 after the Spurs won in like '07 or something like that. But he played a year after the Spurs won, trying to get a title. He was a ring chasing. He knows it. He was okay with it. He was coming off the bench. He was barely playing, and he wanted a ring. Fortunately, he didn't get his ring. But that's the one, it was at 0% because not a lot of people believed or remembered that he played for the Knicks at one period of time and for the Spurs. That little connection that I got was good. The thing that was killing me was the steals. That killed me. Especially the Atlanta Hawks and the New York Knicks, I had to really go down the list. I had to close my eyes, lie down on the couch, and just remember different players in different jerseys because that's only how you can remember these things. And the way this game works and how you can get a good score is you can't go for the stars. For the Atlanta Hawks and their steals, you can go for one of their best point guards of all time, a top 3 point guard in their history, and Doc Rivers. But you can't do that because then that's going to be like 50% of people are going to say Doc Rivers. So you got to go for someone not a lot of people would think of. So I was thinking about guys in their past. I thought like Pistol Pete maybe would have done 1,500 steals. No, he didn't. I was thinking maybe Jeff Teague, maybe. I never know. He's been in the league for a while. I was looking at Al Horford, Paul Millsap, Josh Smith. I was looking at all these guys to see if something would have came. Nothing, 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 nothing. And then I had to, once again, close my eyes and remember that Jason Terry, he was an Atlanta Hawk for a time. He was pretty good. I think he was a six man at that time as well. So I remember, and I know that Jason Terry, being the legend he is, because he's a legend. I think if someone has lasted in the league for like 15 plus years, they should get legend status because not a lot of guys can say that. A lot of guys, even your star players, haven't been. I think if you think of a Steve Francis and a Jason Terry, Steve Francis had probably higher peaks, being a number one guy, being an All NBA player, an All Star player. But Jason Terry had a long career, plus he has the ring. So you have to think down in your bag to go, who is someone most people would not believe and agree with. But I do want to say one thing with Hoops Grid. For Toronto and the Atlanta Hawks, I'm not sure if you're really counting on games played, because if you are, maybe I'm incorrect. But Lucas Nogueira, Bebe, as some of them would call him, he played for the Raptors. And he also played for the Atlanta Hawks. So, and he wasn't included. I should have got a way lower score if that was included, but I picked Jose Calderon. Of course, I remember Chris Childs because he punched Kobe in the face, and I know he played for the Raptors and the Knicks, especially during those playoff years of '01. I remember those times. That's how deep rooted of an NBA fan I am. A lot of people wouldn't know Paul Watson played for Toronto and OKC. Steve Novak Steve Novak I pick all the time. That guy, he's a person to pick for because he's played for a lot of teams. He's a sharpshooter. And I know he played for the Knicks, but I actually got him with the Spurs and OKC because I just felt like the Spurs would jump on a player like this. So that was one of my good ones. Nate McMillan, I just know he played for the Supersonics, so I just kind of went with him. I knew not to go with Gary Payton or Sean Kemp. I tried to see if Van Horn, Van Exel, one of them type of guys played. Doug Christie with New York. People forget that guy was a defensive monster back in the day. A nice wing player. When he's a type of player that he'd be making a lot of money in this league right now because of his defensive versatility. He'd be making a lot of money. Kind of think of like a Herb Jones. I think he even plays he actually is with the Sacramento Kings, but yeah, just think. I mean, Christie's with the Sacramento Kings, but yeah, I think this hoops great thing is kind of fun. One time I did the Chicago Bulls, not Chicago Bulls, it was Chicago Bulls and Shaq, and it was the Bucks and 76ers. That one was hard. Finding a person who played with Shaq, and this is a guy who played with a lot of people, like a lot of people. So you have to find somebody that he's played with that isn't really recognizable. I picked Steve Kerr, one of the most recognizable coaches of all time, and probably someone say now a top 5 coach of all time. That one was hard, but I love this Hoops Grid thing. Actually, like shout out to them. They tweeted back my post about how hard it is. So shout out to them. It's made every NBA fan go crazy because the real NBA fans, real hoopers, fans who really know about ball, love playing this. It's fun. It gets you have to think deep in your bag. Think deep in your bag. Now, speaking of bag, let's talk about the guy behind me, Mr. Anthony Davis. Like I said, the manager signed a contract extension, which now would keep him on this team until he's like 32, which is good for Anthony Davis and his family. Shouts out to him getting the bag because everyone wants to. So officially, it's a 3-year 186. Now, with it being a 3-year 186, um, which would then overall make it 270, and it would put him through 2028. Now, do I believe he's going to last until 2028? No, I don't believe so. I think he'll get traded. Now, the one thing, and this was really about Anthony Davis getting his contract also means like LeBron's not. I'm telling everyone right now, LeBron's final great season was last year. This year, I'm hoping we get a great LeBron, but he's older. LeBron is 38. He's older. Okay. He's going to year 21. And with the unfortunate news of his son, I don't think that dream of playing with Bronny is going to be there. As much as he probably wanted it to be there, with the unfortunate situation that happened to his son, I don't believe that's going to be the case. So I would look to say that this is LeBron's second last season, if anything, and that year 23 will be his last season. Probably ironic that he's changing his number to I think 23, and then he'll play 23 season in the league. Favorite player being Michael Jordan, plays number 23. I can see that happening. But what this also shows that the Lakers could be a competent team for the next few years. They got their star. I think they have to give us a star. Is he a number one? No. I've said it in the past. Maybe the best version of Anthony Davis is a number 3. And I mean a number 3 offensively. What this guy does defensively is still better than probably most of the league. Maybe there's 4 guys who impact a game as much as Anthony Davis does. In a lot of cases, they don't. A lot of people don't impact the game the way Anthony Davis does on the defensive side of things. I can name down a couple of names, but if you had to pick a guy, you're going to pick Anthony Davis. But what this really means for Anthony Davis, once again, Lakers they have that window to build a contender. LeBron is there. Will they try to go for a Kyrie? I do think so, and I'll get into that as well. But what it also just means that the Lakers have the ability to now build around Anthony Davis, build around his strength. And his strengths are rebounding, playing defensive big, and trying to be at times a hub of an offense. Now, is he the number one hub? Like I said, no, I think he's the best number three it could be because of all the intangible things he does. Not because he doesn't have the talent to be number one or number two. I think Davis has the talent to be number one, number two guy on a team, on a championship team. He really does. But sometimes getting over that hump, you need a special guy. You need a special guy like a Kawhi, a special guy like a LeBron, a Jokic to kind of get you there. But this is the bag for him, man. This is the bag. He's now. It took what a year, a week. It took a week for Jaylen Brown to not be the number one overall paid guy yearly. Now it goes to Anthony Davis, who's about to make what 64 million in his like second to last year. His last year, I think it's close to 70 million that he's gonna make. And who knows all the incentives that these guys are about to get. So he has now the richest annual contract in the league. I think Jaylen Brown still has the richest contract overall being signed, but Anthony Davis has the richest contract year by year because of the amount of money he's about to make. But shout out to him, man. Anthony Davis, he's played well enough. He did a great job. Um, Anthony Davis is a top 15 player in the league, bar none. Top 15 player. So you're just hoping good things will come. What I think is going to happen, I think two things. Either, if he does stay, I think what they're going to do, you call up Chicago. You don't really got a lot of draft picks. You got one. You can kind of try to go with 2027, maybe potentially do like another, do something else, like a couple second round or something like that. But with their lack of draft picks, which makes the signing even better because you don't have any draft picks. So you have Anthony Davis for his rest of his prime, pretty much. You call a Chicago and said, "Hey, how's Zach doing? Can Zach LaVine come?" Because what the Lakers love doing since the Showtime Lakers with Kareem and Magic, they like to put the big and the small, and that's what they're gonna try to do. They're gonna try to get one of the better shooting guards that are coming on in this league, and pair him with Anthony Davis. And the thing is, you don't just the Lakers are the one team out of the whole league that I would say get free agents who consistently get free agents. And it's shown through their history. It's not the Knicks. It's not the Mavericks, the Dallas Mavericks. Even with the state tax, they don't really normally get that guy. The Clippers don't get that guy. It's the Lakers. The Lakers, I would say, in normal cases, hence why I'm wearing the hat. They get their guy. Right? The Lakers get their guy in most cases. So I truly do believe that will be the case again. They're going to get someone. And mind you, there's a lot of people are signing contract extensions and things like that, but people ask for trades all the time. I truly think D'Angelo Russell will be traded. And if the season doesn't end up being the way they want it, especially midway point, I can see it. I can see D'Angelo Russell, potentially being unhappy as well. If he has to go back and forth with Gabe Vincent for the starting role, I'm not too sure if he's gonna. I don't think he wants that. I think he believes that he's a starting caliber player. In his recent podcast with not his, is Patrick Beverley's podcast, he talked about being severely underrated and people not seeing his true talents and his potential and the type of guy he is. He did resign with the Lakers. His contract is very trade friendly. You can attach him, maybe a Hachimura, and hey, that's a deal for Kyrie. And I think that's something that may happen, especially if Dallas doesn't end up being as good as mentioned. But I really do think that's the one thing that could happen with the Lakers. Honestly, it's just to be the fact that it'll be Anthony Davis. They'll get like a guard. Like I said, Zach LaVine. Don't this would not be the greatest guard, but maybe a Desmond Bain. They LaMelo Ball. I think there's a lot of potential that can happen with having Anthony Davis as your center, especially if he plays center. I think that's what they're really gonna aim for as well. Sometimes play him at the four, but probably the best version in this type of league is having AD at the center. And now if he had a big that shot threes more often, like if he had a Miles Turner, then he would play power forward, be the best power forward in the league, and this bar none, no question, this guy would be that guy number one. Um, and now the other thing I see, like I said before, I could see him leaving. I could see him getting the bag once LeBron leaves. If he doesn't see this team as a title contender, being at his age, I can see people making a deal. I think the team that people don't talk about enough who can really make a crazy deal down the line is OKC. Them and the Pelicans hold a lot of draft picks. Even the Spurs hold a few draft picks, but the Pelicans and OKC hold a lot. OKC has 37 draft picks. I talk about it a lot. How do you not eventually call the Lakers and say, hey, we'll be able to trade Jalen Williams, the good Jalen. Maybe trade Chet. Trade Chet, Jalen, because Chet's gonna be only probably 24. Chet, Jalen, few of our draft picks, and you get Anthony Davis, and then you pair Anthony Davis with a Shea and a Giddy. That's a title contender right there. Because Shea's that guy. And OKC wants to win a title. And Presti can't just keep hoarding draft picks. You have 37 draft picks. You have 21 guys on your team right now. You got to release one of them. It's just the way the league works. You can't have that much guys on the squad at the same time. So I can see something changing for sure. For OKC, the Lakers. I'm just saying, look down the line. I'm calling it now. OKC is the team to be worried about, even with a Giannis deal, Joel Embiid deal. They have the packages. They have some of the young players that can make an organization go like, okay, well, at least we can build for the future. Don't sleep on Dame potentially as well. But that's something that I can see in the near future for this Lakers team and Anthony Davis. But overall, I think it's an A+. You sign your good players. Always sign good players, no matter what. You have to sign good players. Good players are what make you win a title overall. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the USA team. The select team recently, beat the actual team that's going into FIBA. I think they said they beat them twice. And it happens. I don't think yes, the FIBA team is the better team on paper. I think there's some of the things that would have changed. I think they were trying something out when they originally started Cam Johnson over Ant. I think the four guys were pretty obvious. It's funny. This team is, as much as we look at it, and all the players you can see could be on the same tier. There's still five guys you would start. I think the obvious choice in center was always going to be Jaren Jackson Jr. Obvious, especially for FIBA rules. Best defensive big that they have on the team. I know Kessler is good, but he's the best defensive big you have on the squad. Then you also have Mikal and Brandon Ingram have to start, best defensive player. Plus you have your offensive hub. Like the team should hover around Ingram. I always feel like you need organization. Your organization here is Ingram. That's your number one guy. That's bar none your number one guy. Then I first thought it could have been a competition between Halliburton and freaking what's his name? I was going to say Josh Hart. I don't know why I was going to say Josh Hart. Brunson, with Halliburton and Brunson. But all in all, I think they went with Brunson. They say he's a natural leader. He's a vet. So it just makes sense that you'd play him. Halliburton will eventually get his shine down the line. But yeah, that's the four guys you would obviously play. The only competition, like I said, would have been Halliburton and Brunson. But I thought Anthony Edwards was pretty obvious too. So I thought like the starting five was actually overall obvious. I just heard and read that they have brought Ant back to the starting unit. I don't know what that really was. I'm not sure if it was for maybe for training purposes to see how Cam would look. But Anthony Edwards is the clear like number two guy on the team. He's the guy that he's the star. If this was like maybe a year down the line, I would say this team would revolve around Anthony Edwards. I just think that guy's a superstar. He seems very humble and wants to help out Cat. I think that'll be a downfall. He should not. He should be the star. He has star like potential. He plays like a star. He can be the next in line, honestly, to be the next number one overall pick to lead his team to a title. I've said it multiple times. It's been LeBron, Tim Duncan, Shaq, Olajuwon, Kareem, Magic. Like that's it. Like five guys in a span of 50 years being number one, and that have done it. AI brought his team to the finals. I think Anthony Edwards could do that with more reps. I think he has the it factor that most people don't have. I was listening to a podcast as well there, and I agree with them when they're talking about the next great American superstar. Because right now the league is still LeBron's league, it's still Steph, it's still KD. Those are three guys, but you need the next step. When you had Michael Jordan, fading in '03. You already had Shaq and Kobe, and you had Iverson to kind of take the mantle. You had Vince Carter, you had Tracy, who was growing. All these guys were taking the mantle, and you knew the guy LeBron was coming. Once again, he was American, so it made it easier for him to come into the league. Whereas, right now the league is really ran by Europeans, and African, and Embiid, and Giannis, Luca. Your best American player is Jason Tatum, and I think Jason Tatum for most people is extremely boring. So I don't think he's ever going to be the face of the league because of how boring he really is. Maybe if he wins a title, things can be changed. He's like, in a weird sense, like a Kawhi. Like, you want to make them a star, but they themselves may not want to be a star. They probably just want to hoop, and spend time with their family, which is no issue to that. Ja Morant was about to be the future of the league. You can tell the league was definitely gravitating to Ja Morant in every sense of the way. But because, of course, his current situation, being suspended 25 games, looks like he's more of AI and Allen Iverson than the next great point guard coming out of college and about to take the league by storm. I think is that. I think that's what the league wants. I think it's who they want to be their star. And like I said, he has the it factor. He should be their star. So yeah, the U.S. select team beat them, but now I believe that truly this U.S. team is a good team. Will it win it all? I know people are talking about the Canadian team, talking about Slovenia with Luka, Dominican Republic with Cat. I'm not sure if I see all that. I think this U.S. team is still deep, no matter what. To one of the deepest rosters in the overall tournament. They're going to continuously be the deepest roster in the overall tournament. So I don't believe they're going to be a squad that's going to lose a lot of games. I think they're a squad that I put a lot of money in, I would say, with those guys. So that's my thought process of that team. But overall, with Anthony Edwards, Ingram, I do think that they could win it. So Slovenia, Canada, all those, good luck. Yeah, it's more wide open. I think it was Gilbert Arenas who called them a bunch of bums. That's false. Don't do that. There's still some. Brunson was an all-star like player this season. Took his Knicks pretty far. I thought he was I won't say the missing piece. They're missing a star, but he was their missing piece for this current core. Mikal Bridges had such a great end of the season, especially after he got traded for KD. He averaged like 25 points plus. He won't win most improved. If he got traded like in the offseason, he would be 100% the most improved player if he was doing the numbers that he's doing now. He's the type of player I think most teams would want. I'm not sure if Brooklyn would want to let him go now. I think he's actually pretty valuable, and you may not let him go. And like I said, you still got Anthony Edwards who has the it. You have all those guys. So I think this team is gonna be good. I can't wait for FIBA to happen because it's one of those things that it's fun seeing the world's talent. People kind of underestimate certain places. Like Spain right now is going through a down season, I would say overall as a team. When they had their golden era with the Fernandez, Sergio, they had, I mean, Rudy Fernandez and Sergio. They had the Gasol brothers. They had Rubio. And hopefully, speaking of Rubio, he decided to take a step back off NBA and just basketball in general for mental health issues. Anytime someone's going through anything like that, you want to just hope that they're okay. And the league is always going to welcome them when they get back, and when they do, we all believe that they're going to be the stars that they are. So you're hoping that him and anyone else that's going through anything is okay. When back in the day it was Kevin Love, DeMar started it as well, talking about mental health and whatever the man's going through. You're hoping he's good. But yeah, so with FIBA, I'm hoping it's fun. That's the biggest thing. I hope Team Canada does well. First game against France, no Vic there. It sounds like Rudy Gobert is hitting threes, things like that. Like he can shoot all threes he wants. I think we're actually going to be hopeful that he shoots a bunch of threes because he's not going to be making 50% of them. He won't make 40, he won't make 30%. He's just going to be as advertised as a whole with that guy. But yeah, that's it for the NBA Weekly. The NBA has been it's been quiet. It's just a random a bunch of podcasts. Jeff Teague is not doubling down at all with his Dwayne Wade and James Harden's take. I already spoke about it. I don't think James Harden is in the same vicinity as Dwayne Wade. One of his arguments were that people on court are trying to emulate James Harden, and people don't try to practice Dwayne Wade moves. Yeah, I guess because the league is different now. The way Harden plays is more. It's just you'll probably get the bag, But there's so much guys that remind people of Harden, but doesn't mean you kind of want to keep those guys. Those guys who are like a Dwayne Wade, like a Donovan Mitchell type, those are the guys that believe that they can win you a title. The guys like Harden, I can name names like Jalen Green, those type of young players. Nah, you don't feel that great about it. Harden will get you buckets. If he's not winning you games, and I guess you can want titles or championships, whatever. James Harden is just not that person. I don't believe so. He doesn't hold Dwayne Wade's candle, and he doesn't play no defense. Like Dwayne Wade showed up every single game, played on both ends of the court. That's what basketball is two-ended, and that's what Dwayne Wade did at a high level. James Harden did not play at a high level. Harden's peak was all great, and yes, he lost to the Warriors, who just had so much talent. But in that same breath, then let's continue boosting LeBron. Let's boost, DeMar and Kyle for losing to LeBron. You have to talk about all these great teams like Carmelo and all. That's why that statement that James Harden is the Carmelo of this era is 100% true. We see a great player and we think they're this great. Mind you, Malone was a great MVP, so was Harden. But at the end of the day, they kept running to a better team, and it's not because their team wasn't good. It's just they couldn't get him over the top, and Harden can't get no team over the top at all. He's just not that guy. He won't be that guy. I'm curious what his next contract will be. He had to resign because he believed that he was about to get that Fred VanVleet money. Houston themselves didn't want him. So I'm curious how that's going to be. That's just my thought. But yeah, like and subscribe, follow us all social media platforms. Have fun with the hoops grids, all that stuff. And we'll talk again. Peace.